FDA approval for the WISE cardiac pacing system.
I think that's a great testament to the clinical need for the system. We're using ultrasound as a medium to transmit energy to a passive electrode in the heart.
Hi everyone, welcome back to our executive interview series. I'm your host. I'm delighted to be joined by Andrew Shute, the Chief Corporate Development Officer at EBR Systems, ASX ticker EBR. EBR has just hit some major milestones after more than 2 decades of development. The company has got FDA approval for the WISE cardiac pacing system. Doctors are already doing implants and Medicare reimbursement is about to kick in. There's clearly momentum that's building here. And today we will dive into what this means for investors and patients alike. Andrew, thanks for joining us today.
Great, thanks, Rhythm. Glad to talk to you again.
Likewise. Now, Andrew, firstly, congratulations on what seems to be such a pivotal moment for EBR. You've got doctors doing implants before reimbursement even kicks in, which is pretty unusual. Now, what are you hearing from these physicians?
Yeah, I think that's a great testament to the clinical need for the system for both physicians and patients. The fact that, we announced earlier this month, we passed the 10 implant mark. And the fact that these hospitals are willing to purchase the device prior to those reimbursement top-up payments beginning on the 1st of October.
That's truly very fascinating. So you are seeing genuine clinical demand driving adoption before even the economics are fully optimized. Now, could you walk us through what makes a cardiologist choose WISE over conventional CRT? I imagine that, they're not switching lightly from established procedures that they've been doing for years.
Yeah, probably it's worth clarifying. We're not in direct competition with those major players in the lead-based CRT market. We're really focused on those patients who have failed to benefit from lead-based CRT systems, or they're at high risk of being upgraded to a lead-based CRT. So we're not in direct competition with them. So really, it's these patients there, and I think there was a quote from Dr. Doshi in one of our recent releases that stated that once these reimbursement top-up payments kick in, we'll look to adopt WISE immediately in patients who have failed lead-based CRT and those considered high risk to a conventional upgrade. So I think there is that huge clinical need out there. And until we've been on the market, there's been no alternative for these patients. So I think we're going to see a tremendous impact once we initiate our limited market release, which will coincide with those the NTAP or new technology add-on payment for inpatients and the TPT or transitory pass-through payment for outpatients on the 1st of October.
Absolutely. Now that you mentioned, so on the 1st of October, that's when the Medicare reimbursement kicks in through the NTAP program that you mentioned. So how does that change the conversation with the hospitals? Like, are you expecting a significant ramp from there?
Oh, definitely. And to be honest, we expected, a very handful of implants prior to the 1st of October. And the fact that we'd exceeded that sort of, we've gone past that 10 implant milestone, as I mentioned earlier, is just testament to the clinical need. So all our conversations have actually been focused on what happens from the 1st of October onwards. So that's what we've been expecting. We have a good mixture of sites lined up to participate in our limited market release. And these are a combination of sites that participated in our SOLVE CRT pivotal trial, and they've been supplemented by some either strategically important accounts or large volume accounts that for some reason weren't able to get across the line to participate in the SOLVE study.
Absolutely. And the timing also seems very strategic with your limited market research. Now, Andrew, you've been at it since 2003. So that's over 20 years of development. So for investors who might be thinking, why now? Like, what's fundamentally different about this moment compared to, let's say, 5 years ago?
Well, I guess if you think back, medical devices, it takes a long time to bring to market. You're going through the concept phase. You have, particularly if you're thinking about our system, we're using we're using ultrasound as a medium to transmit energy to a passive electrode in the heart. And this started using you see them in hospital today, a conventional ultrasound machine on a trolley. And then you have to spend years developing that into something the size of your little finger that can actually be implanted into the body. So that takes years and years of development to miniaturize, get the technology successful. Then you start with your feasibility studies, your first in man studies, and bring it along. We're already on our at least second generation system now. So it takes time. And then if you think, really the conversation changed in 2018 when we began our FDA pivotal study, the SOLVE-CRT trial. We then received FDA breakthrough designation the following year. We completed enrollment in SOLVE in 22. We released our results at HRS in May of 23. They were published in JAMA Cardiology in 24, and then FDA approval this year in April of 25. And that was rapidly followed by, I think it may even be the day after we announced that, CMS gave us a preliminary approval for the NTAP reimbursement. That was followed by preliminary approval for the TPT reimbursement, and then final approval for the NTAP reimbursement. So it takes a long time, but you can just kind of see that flurry of activity that we've had in the last 6 months, and with limited market release expected to begin, in 2 weeks' time.
Absolutely. So, Andrew, when you are at conferences like that CanCode event in Boston, what's the question that you get most from institutional investors? And could you help us understand how big is this market opportunity really?
Yeah, it's quite a similar pattern. After hearing the presentation, and when we move to one-on-one meetings, usually the first question is this too good to be true? We're participating in a market dominated by 3 major players, Medtronic, Abbott, and Boston, yet we are not in direct competition with them. We're actually complementary. And then looking at our TAM, it's a large TAM at launch in the US at $3.6 billion US. And we can only see this expanding as we move into other international markets, including Australia and the UK. And then beyond that, we'll look to expand our indications. And the second question is really about trying to stress test our commercial strategy. So our commercial team is led by Eric Strandberg, our Chief Commercial Officer. And we've really got a strategy in place about going slow to grow fast. And that's about focusing on a smaller number of accounts, but with the goal of getting deeper penetration. And that means increasing our much higher utilization rate.
Absolutely. Now, Andrew, it definitely sounds like that, you're not just competing for market share, but you're potentially expanding the treatable population. Now, Andrew, as a parting question, looking ahead, let's say 12 to 18 months, what would success look like for EBR? What should investors be watching out for as your key milestones?
Well, our goal is to be a high-growth medical device company well beyond that sort of timeline you've mentioned, but we need to execute on our commercial plan. And that means having quarter-on-quarter revenue growth. And, we want to beat the consensus from the analysts that follow us, and we all believe that's achievable.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, for our viewers who are interested in learning more about EBR, please find their details at the side of your screen or in the description of this video. And Andrew, thank you for taking the time to walk us through EBR's story. It's clear that you are at an inflection point with your FDA approval, the commercial traction, and the reimbursement all aligning. And our team at Wholesale Investor just wishes you all the luck with your future moving forward.
No, thanks, Ruben. Always great to talk to you.
Likewise. Thanks, Andrew.